It is not immoral to use generative AI. Now, I'm no philosophy person. I tend to get mixed up between morality and ethics. Are they the same thing? I don't know. But I did just release a video about the practical uses of generative AI for TTRPG book production, right? But it doesn't look at morality at all. It's only practical considerations. So, as a counterbalance, I'm making this video where I can really work out what my feelings are around the morality of generative AI. And that's my conclusion. I don't think it's immoral to use generative AI. Here's my reasoning. My understanding of what's going on here kind of stumbles through 4 steps. The first step was to recognize that these AI companies are training their models in unethical ways because these companies just hoover up and eat all of the data online regardless of who owns it. And that's plagiarism, and plagiarism is probably immoral. And this is an ongoing harm. Right? These companies are still eating data. Give it a month, one of them's gonna eat this video. Yum, yum, yum. My second step was to ask myself a few questions. The first question was, if a tool is made in an unethical manner, is it immoral to use that tool? And then further downstream from that, if a product is made with a tool that was made in an unethical manner, is it incorrect, is it immoral to purchase that product? My third step was to answer those questions because I can think of examples where the ethics of a tool's creation can become a transitive property onto the products of that tool. For example, in a positive way, green steel. Here's some steel that we have manufactured in a way that is completely carbon offset. So if you use this steel in your building, then your building is more likely to be an ethical kind of construction. But on the other end, we have an unethical way of getting eggs. We could get eggs really cheap and really fast through battery farming and inflicting lots of harm on these chickens. Lots of people consider that harm against the animals unethical, so it's unethical to buy battery farmed eggs. But the fourth step I went through is a realization that I don't think that generative AI has that ethical transitive property. Some detractors are concerned about generative AI's effect on the environment, right? Because all of these requests going through these AI models is using a massive amount of computing power. So much so that the big tech companies are actually investing in their own nuclear power plants. And at the moment, at this very day, the carbon footprint of the AI models is about the same as a small country. That's only going to get higher. However, I happen to have like this nihilistic kernel deep in my soul that places environmental concerns outside the purview of personal responsibility. If it were transgressive and immoral to use generative AI because of environmental concerns, I would put it on the same level as owning a gas-guzzling car, right? I have a big car. Is that immoral? Some people would argue yes, but it is socially acceptable. Some other detractors are concerned about AI as a disruptive force in industries, people losing their jobs due to new technology. And I think it is always very sad. It is never a good thing, and I have sympathy for anybody that ever loses their job for almost any reason. However, tech disruption in industries and people losing their jobs because of it is morally neutral, I believe. And this is coming from somebody with 10 years in the newspaper industry. Buddy, you heard of the internet? Wrecked the newspaper industry, buddy. Newspapers like sacking people more than insert American football metaphor here. So, I think it's okay to use a hammer. And in the same way, I think it's okay to use AI, but you and I can both imagine immoral ways to use that same hammer, and there are immoral uses of AI. For example, it would be immoral to use AI to replicate somebody else's work and then pass it off as your own, because plagiarism is wrong. In the same way, it would be wrong to use your paintbrush to steal my cool picture of a dog, right? In the same way, it would be immoral if the AI were ever to regurgitate undigested training data content in a way that is recognizable as somebody else's work. That's probably immoral as above. It's also immoral for AI to do your homework. It's immoral to cheat on your homework, buddy. In the same way that you can't pay a nerd $20 to do the same thing. It would also be immoral to use AI to make deep fakes and trick people. In the same way, it's immoral to use Photoshop to do the same thing. And this last one is probably immoral, but it's definitely in bad taste. It's immoral to taunt people who are in disrupted industries and have lost their job due to generative AI. However, regardless of morality, in the end, my prediction is that AI will really reduce the quality of content produced by most industries, and it'll also lower the expectations we have for people's understanding of those industries. We're going to have programmers vibing code that they cannot read, and we will have prompt artists generating images that when some poor classically trained art director asks for a small edit, these prompt artists will not have the skill to execute that edit. And that last part is probably the most important aspect of a creative production: execution. All these AI bros, these tech people, probably misunderstand creativity a little bit. These are the same people who probably think it's really valuable to have an ideas guy on the team, and some of them might even fancy themselves as the ideas guy. And look, they're right. In a creative project, you do need a great idea to have that project be successful. However, that is the price of admission. Every successful project is going to have a great idea behind it. It's like, look, imagine if you identified as somebody who is punctual, right? I'm a punctual person, I'm always on time for work, and that's why I'm a great worker. Look, buddy, you're right. It is really important to show up at the right time to work. However, that is like the most basic expectation of an adult with a job, showing up to work on time. The thing that really differentiates you from all the other workers, of whether you're a successful worker or not, is how you execute when you're at work. It's not the idea that's important, it's how you execute the idea. Because my guess is these AI bros kind of misunderstand what creativity is, and I see it as just a Venn diagram where these three things intersect: skill, discipline, and effort. Almost anything generated with AI is not going to have those three elements in any sufficient quantity that I could enjoy that thing. For example, if I were to watch the AI generated version of A Few Good Men, then I cannot say, hey, Tom Cruise did a great job improvising that impersonation of Jack Nicholson. What a fast mind he has. And I can't say, the gaffer did a great job with the lighting, and everybody's hair lights and the light on the back of their shoulders and the back of their head looked amazing. Everybody was glowing in this movie and I loved it. And the reason I can't say those things is because there is no effort, there is no skill, there is no discipline in this movie because nobody made it. Do I really want to watch a movie that nobody made? But unfortunately, even if I were to convince every single person in the world that AI will always produce inferior quality content, I cannot deny that it is more convenient. And being convenient in 2025 means you get to win and you get to stay. That kernel of nihilism I have in my spirit also tells me that every modern innovation that makes the world more convenient is anti-human, because the best parts about being a human involve effort, and convenience kills effort. Anyway, 3 points. The AI companies are engaged in unethical behavior. It is not unethical to use the tools they make, and AI will probably make the world worse. If you have a TTRPG project and you want to use AI in it, check out this video here. It'll give you some real practical uses that are actually kind of cool, kind of fun. And also check out my newsletter, start-a-quest.com. Now, let's never talk about this again.